Information Minister Lai Mohammed reiterates the gallantry of Nigerian soldiers, says insurgents have been wiped out substantially. Commitment to good democratic parties in Africa. Federal government sends logistics support ahead of presidential and legislative elections in Nigeria. It's good to have you join us on the news on NTA International. I am Shegun Lawole. Nigeria and Liberia have resolved to renew their bonds of friendship by charting a new course for improved investment, trade and other relations between the two countries. This was when President Ellen Johnson Sirleaf of Liberia visited President Muhammadu Buhari to formally thank Nigeria for tremendously supporting her country in the most trying times. State House correspondent Adam Sambo reports.
Visiting Nigeria for the first time since President Muhammadu Buhari came to power, the 77-year-old Liberian leader Ellen Johnson Sirleaf was given a befitting reception at the courtyard of the presidential villa. The two leaders thereafter went into a closed-door meeting where discussions were held on ways of cementing the long-standing relations between the
two regions affect all of us. So it is in our own interest to discuss and see how we can support individual countries for the elections that are coming.
President Muhammadu Buhari also spoke of the need for ECOWAS and the Economic Community of Central African States to fashion effective strategies towards stemming sub-regional infiltration and attacks by terrorists.
The effects of which, you know, in the northeast, for the last two planting seasons, they have been planted, much less harvest. So virtually there is starvation. And we went over all these things that affect both of us and our region and the continent.
President Johnson Sirleaf, who became the president of Liberia in 2006, is now in her second.
We want to improve electricity. This has continuously been the reason why there has been increase in the tariff 4 different times. But hello, there is no stable electricity and metering is still a problem. For me, this tariff increase is ultra wicked, is unconscionable as the heart of insensitivity.
The lawmakers thereafter agreed to conduct a public hearing which will involve all stakeholders before arriving at an approved electricity tariff for Nigerians, as well as lead to the review of the act establishing the electricity regulatory body. Also at Tuesday's plenary, Senators received interim progress report on the 2016 budget from the Chairman Appropriation Committee, Senator Muhammad Danjuma Goji.
Within 1 week from next week Tuesday, or thereabout, we may conclude getting the reports, then we'll try to harmonize with our counterpart in the House of Reps, with a view to finally submitting the clean copy of the budget.
I'll put question that we extend 1 more week to allow the committees to engage with the MDAs, correct any areas that needs correction, so that we ensure that the document we're dealing with is as accurate as possible and truly represent the wish of the people.
5 bills, including 2 executive bills on money laundering and that for the establishment of the FCT Civil Service Commission, were read for the first time. Annual report from Auditor General of the Federation was also led at the plenary by the Senate Committee on Public Accounts. Senate reconvenes plenary on Tuesday, February 23rd. From the National Assembly, Abdullahi Garba Brunonkudu, NTA News.
The visiting trade delegation from the United Kingdom continues its exploration of business opportunities in Nigeria with a visit to the Ministry of Industry, Trade and Investment this Tuesday. The team, comprising experts from various sectors, interacted with the Minister, Dr. Okechukwu Enelama, who briefed members of the delegation on the policy thrust of government on industrialization. Oden reports. In currency, and President Muhammadu Buhari stands that devaluation of the naira will not help Nigeria is fueling a national debate. A team of financial experts were on NTA's program Good Morning Nigeria to suggest possible options available to the government on the issue of devaluation of the naira. Gufan Shaji monitored the program.
The financial experts unanimously agreed that devaluation of the naira is not the way to go, but stressed the need for the CBN to put on ground sustainable policies to support the naira and guide import substitution. This is as the gap between the official rate of the dollar and that of the parallel market widens.
Not just about sitting there and talking about the naira in isolation. We need to enact policies that will increase our export drive. For instance, all the exporters in this country are being owed a lot of money on their export expansion grants. I mean, they're complaining that close to about 150 billion is being owed them. Now, why don't you resolve this problem? Because if you do, at least the non-oil exporters can begin to bring in another close to $4 to $5 billion every year for you from non-oil exports. And again, that will ease the pressure on the naira.
We should do a floating exchange rate, but manage floating within a certain defined band that the CBN can determine.
All right. There is deficiency that has to do with the structure also of some of these intervention funds.
President National Association of Nigerian Traders Ken Ukwoha lamented the racketeering in the banks, stressing that government should articulate policies to make incentives more accessible, as this would boost local consumption and discourage importation.
I think that CBN must put on their searchlight on the bank. And if they can get this, I can tell you that the dollar will be dethroned gradually and most quickly.
They also emphasized that the CBN should tackle the distortions in the parallel market, as this will reduce speculations and panic buying. Gufan Shaji, NTA News.
Information and Culture Minister Lai Mohammed says there is no resurgence in any part of the northeast where Boko Haram insurgents have before now held sway. The minister was speaking at a media briefing in Abuja. He restated that the gallant Nigerian troops have substantially wiped out the insurgents. Anthony Forson reports.
The influence and the rule of law, the prosecution of the war on terrorism is being guided strictly.
This government, even its own rule of engagement, has the highest respect for the rule of law and for international laws and treaty. And I think the release of these 200 suspected terrorists is a giving pointer in that direction.
The minister maintained that the federal government is working to end the spate of attacks, especially against vulnerable communities, by improvising measures that are in line with best global practices. In Abuja, Anthony Forson.
The meantime, the Minister of Interior, Abdurrahman Dambazo, has restated government's commitment to the protection of the fundamental human rights of the citizenry, in addition to the entrenchment of accountability and fairness in its dealings. He stated this when members of the Amnesty International visited his office. Timothy Yusuf reports.
Amnesty International's objective aims at conducting research and generate action to prevent and end abuses of human rights, as well as demand justice for those whose rights have been violated. In the last few years, it has released some reports indicting Nigeria of gross violation of fundamental human rights of the citizenry, especially in the face of the insurgency in the northeast, where the military had to cohabit with the civilians.
Nigerians deserve to see justice.
The Minister of Interior disclosed that a special committee is already constituted by government to look into all reports of human rights violations. He, however, assured Amnesty International that their reports may not be 100% true as presented.
This government is for fundamental principles of democracy, transparency, accountability, rule of law, and human rights.
We already have technical platforms, that ensure that the conduct of policemen is accountable to the members of the public to which they serve.
In Abuja, Timothy Yusuf, NTA News.
And as part of commitment to good democratic practice in Africa, the federal government is giving logistics support to the Republic of Niger to promote all-inclusive, free and fair presidential and legislative elections slated for 21st of February. Ronke Kolaole reports that the Minister of State for Foreign Affairs, Khadija Abba Ibrahim, handed over the items to the government of Niger in Niamey, the country's capital.
Out Out of the 17 million people in Niger, about 7.5 are eligible to vote. The incumbent President Mahmoudou Issoufou is running for a second term and will be contending with 15 other parties' candidates. Items donated by the federal government are 50 vehicles, 100 motorcycles, computers and photocopiers. The Minister of State Foreign Affairs says the contribution demonstrates good neighborliness.
Rejoice with you for the successful completion of the constitutional 5-year term of democratic governance, and at the same time welcome this period that is now ushering in another round of general elections.
Her Nigerian counterpart, Aishatu Bobama Kane, is optimistic that the items donated to a successful poll, just as their INEC chairman.
Is brought to you by the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture.
Joining us again, it was a busy day for President Muhammadu Buhari this Tuesday as he played host to a broad spectrum of Nigerians on ways of moving the country forward. State House correspondent Adamu Sambu reports.
Granted audience by President Muhammadu Buhari was the newly crowned Oni of Ife, Oba Adeyeye Ogunwusi Ojaja II.
He's a progressive president. It's about progress and peace of the nation, which he stands for and I stand for. So that's the main objective of this meeting.
Oba Adeyeye also said that discussions with the president centered on youth empowerment and the development of agriculture as cardinal principles of the present administration.
The crude oil price is going down astronomically, but the cocoa price went up over 100% and nobody noticed it. That's another positive indicator for the nation economy. So we've been able to assemble over 200,000 youths. It's unbelievable within a space of 30 days. And we're giving them 5 acres per youth so that they will go back to the farm. And the federal government is supporting us very well. So it's going to be a model.
The Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation, NNPC, is in talks with oil majors and banks to raise capital for new drilling and to repay up to $4 billion in debts that the state oil company has accumulated over years of mismanagement. Group Managing Director, NNPC, also Minister of State for Petroleum Resources, Dr. Ibe Kachiku, said he wants to raise output to up to 2.5 million barrels a day by the end of 2016. Currently, Nigeria pumps 2.3 million barrels a day. The Nigerian Export Promotion Council, NEPC, says it has engaged a fashion consulting agency in Nigeria to manage its Human Development Center. Executive Director, NEPC, Olusegun Awolowo, noted that the drive is to develop capacity for government subsector and generate revenue for the country. He added that by the year 2020, Nigeria is expected to reach $1 trillion in the global markets for garments. The Japanese government, as part of its support for Nigeria's power sector, has offered $800 million credit line to Nigeria that will be used to rehabilitate and extend the lifespan of the Jeba power plant. Consequently, the